Ray classed as a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here.
Hi, Zizaran here with another video for the upcoming 325 League, which comes with a lot of melee buffs. And with that in mind, I want to show you how you can make some really great weapons, and that is what this video is going to focus on. So if you want to learn how to craft melee weapons specifically, stay tuned. So I will have a separate, just full tips and tricks for melee video, but for crafting, early on, you have a lot of choices with recipes, and they're actually very, very powerful early. So when you have a new character, you will either buy for wisdom, transmute, or whetstones. Ideally, you want to keep your whetstones. When you're a new character, you will either find or buy a weapon, right? Whether it's a transmute or a whetstone, etc. You will buy or find one. And we have some item recipes, and I will have a separate video with all the recipes you need as well. But there's some cool stuff we can do here. It works differently with a rare or a blue. And you will have essences as well for low level crafting, using something like a contempt essence. Very, very good early. Melee weapons and melee skills are very different than spell skills, and now even more so after the patch, because melee skills don't have any flat physical damage scaling, whereas spells gain a lot of damage when leveling up. So generally, spells scale better than weapons do. Let's say that you have a melee weapon like a wood splitter here, but there's nothing good on it, right? This doesn't have any good stats. So what you can do is you can sell a rustic sash, the weapon, and a whetstone, and that'll go up to 64% damage. Now, you can sell it with a blue as well, and that'll do 49 if you don't have an alchemy or an essence to throw on a belt. The problem with just throwing an essence on a weapon, and why you see people avoiding that, is let's say that we don't have a contempt, let's say that we have a greed, right? Let's say we throw a greed on. Well, now this literally only got 16 to 32 fire damage, which is a lot worse than throwing it straight on a belt and getting guaranteed fizz damage. So getting up to 64 guaranteed fizz damage, really nice. Now, that being said, if you find a contempt essence early, because you're usually scaling physical damage early, using that does have an okay chance at least of an open prefix, or that it just does get lots of physical damage. Getting triple LE for a lot of builds can be fine early, because early we don't have a lot of scaling, so getting like fire, cold, and lightning, or fire and physical will be okay early on. Now, for a good melee weapon, and I'll make a different example here, and we'll show some in Path of Exile. For a melee weapon, you really want to have flat fizz and percentage fizz. So I didn't get that here, but I did get an open prefix. So if this was a slightly higher base, what we could do is at level 16, I can't remember exactly where you get this recipe, but it is pretty early on. You'll be able to get that, and they'll be they'll work in tandem and buff each other. So you really want to have flat fizz and percentage fizz. And then the third thing you're looking for after just getting the fizz as high as possible is going to be the attack speed. Now, there's a few ways of calculating the damage of this. So I can in-game just click Control C. This is not a third-party tool or a mod that lets you copy-paste items. It's just a feature of the game. If I now Control V, this is on my paste now. You can see here that it has elemental DPS 27, total 119. And physical DPS on this is 91. Then you don't have to do the manual math there. Now we are going to look a little bit at more advanced ways to make weapons, and there are several. Before you actually start crafting, you want to look at your base types, and figuring that out with looking at the Wikipedia is really good. Do make sure you're using the PoE wiki and not the PoE fandom one. The fandom one is just a cash money grab. They have not updated their website for 3 to 4 years, so a lot of articles are not accurate, and this one is powered by Grinding Gear Games themselves. So PoE Wiki, a lot better. So if you scroll down on Axis, you see loads of different bases, and there are some pros and cons to different ones. So it's not always just the one at the bottom, but generally attack speed is what people want the most. So here we see the DPS. I believe that's the DPS. Yeah, DPS is there. So the Valax does have slightly more DPS. This is really good for slow attacks where you don't necessarily want to attack repeatedly. And Despot Axe is when you really want attack speed, right? So slow attacks, Valax, Despot Axe for fast attacks. Ezomite is also a good base. Getting used to looking up bases and maybe analyzing them a little bit because there's a very big difference between a Void Axe, a Despot Axe, and a Noble Axe and an Abyssal Axe, even though they look the same. So that's why I want to address this, because as long as you're using any of the ones at the bottom, they're not going to be bad, right? They're not going to be unusable. However, the same stats that would put this to 700 PDPS, which is a good number, would put this to 300 or something. So let's say that we're making a Despot Axe and we're looking at different item levels, but generally 83 is what you need because that's when the flat physical and percentage physical are the highest they can be. Now, you can do Harvest, Reforge Physical. A lot of people end up spam crafting this with their yellow juice, I believe it is, and hoping that they get like hybrid stats, right? Because if you hit... this one is actually a really good one. So this is open for suffix attack speed, and I would probably craft the one exalted one here. So this would be 600 DPS already. This is just with tier 3 and tier 5. So Reforging Fizz can be pretty good. So let's say you get really lucky and you get the, is it Dictator or Emperor? That's the highest now. But either way, tier 1 hybrid into tier 1 flat. That would be a really good thing that could happen. This can happen either when ult rolling, very unlikely though, but ult regaling, which is not very common anymore. But with Reforged Fizz or Fossils. Fizz Fossils are quite good too. And now you could actually multi-mod this and have a really good weapon. Boom. There. And then for the prefix crafted, there's a few options. Obviously, you have this for just the percentage fizz. Some builds will be using that. Goes up to 129. But you do have the one with bleeding. So you get slightly less fizz, but tends to... sorry, this is the impale one. There's another for bleed. But the impale one is used quite a lot to get that last impale chance. But those are some options there. So here's 800 PDPS with just that, and it would be 832 with the pure roll. So those are some options. Because now exalting the last one is very unlikely to result in you getting the percentage fizz there. And obviously, if you do hit it, like the most we can end up getting in a weapon, or some of the most, with crafted attack speed, is even close to 1,000. And I don't know if Path of Exile has been updated, for the quality will be higher after. This is like a rough idea on some methods of crafting, but yeah. One of the things that I want to be a takeaway for you here is that just hitting a hybrid roll is a big win, right? You don't need to just hit a big percentage roll. Why this is important to know is that it might be easy if you're a newer player to roll over those mods because you might not think about it. Because the hybrid only goes up to 79 with Dictator, whereas the percentage goes up to 179, and you can see that there are 83, both of them. Fractured bases, very good. If you don't know what a fracture is, it's basically a save game of a roll. So for example, if I had either this one or this one fractured, the way this works is that I can then do Reforge Physical and hope that I get Flaring, right? Or hope that I get Hybrid. So here I've gotten already like a usable axe. But you can look at the DPS number there and, you know, see that we are with Fractured Flaring or Fractured Merciless getting really decent ones. Obviously, you can't divine the 170 to 179, but yeah, Fractured mods is definitely a good thing to look out for. Even Fractured attack speed can be useful. Now, another thing that works with this is now we have the percentage fractured. What we can do then is we can use essences. So now we could use deafening contempts, and with merciless you definitely would want to use deafenings. So now you could consider doing deafenings until you hit hybrid, and that could end up being expensive. You could get lucky. It is a lot better to get lucky than to be unlucky. And you could also just be trying to hit tier 1 attack speed. So you have some options here. We can see if we hit either tier 1 win, but either a hybrid or attack speed would be a good thing to... Oh, I rolled over. I had 25 attack speed there. We'll just slap that back on manually so I don't have to keep clicking. But like with 100 deafenings and that fractured, you would get very likely to get a beefy axe. There. So like with 25 attack speed, it would be a little bit over 800. 22. And then you have some prefixes you can craft as well. That would be interesting. So a few different ways that are easy to craft axes there. But yeah, I just wanted to make like a quick refresher videos with some like dangerous things to watch out for, the fact that hybrid exists, and that you can have both percentage and hybrid, because not everybody knows that. Now, I might have missed some things. I don't play melee a shit ton. Like I said, I'll be having some videos with Karn and Al Kaiser as collabs that will go over more things in depth as well. If I missed anything super obvious and you have any tips you want to share with people in the YouTube comments, that is always welcome. We just want to get people as good information as possible. I am also going to start streaming to YouTube, so keep an eye out for that going forward. But thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.